Hey, all you space cadets and rocketeers, thank you for coming back for our second technical demo tutorial. Today's video is going to take up where last week's video left off. Again, this video will be accompanied by a very important blog post that has the steps and all the commands that we're going to use today written out. So you don't have to guess what's on my screen or guess what I'm saying if the audio is not that great. It's all going to be in the blog post. In the description of this video, you'll find the link to that blog post. So please go there and follow along with the written instructions and this video. Like I said, we're going to pick up where last week's video left off. So if you didn't do those steps from last week, there'll be another link below in the description to last week's video and last week's blog post you can get to from there. So please do those steps first. Otherwise, what we do in this video today will make zero sense to you. You'll have a really hard time following along. I don't want to talk too much, but I do want to go over once again, who is this video aimed at? Students, whether you're enrolled in some classes or just studying on your own for your own self-improvement. Students with an interest in embedded systems and aerospace. Who else? Maybe embedded systems engineers who would like to gain a foothold into aerospace or space-related embedded systems. Maybe it's just someone who's curious about C++ programming. Who else? Maybe you are an embedded systems engineer working on a CubeSat problem and you're not using this NASA system framework, and you'd like to see if it's worth it, or you'd like to learn how you can install it and test it out yourself. So those are the 3 or 4 groups of people that this video is really aimed at. And if you're just curious and you just want to laugh at someone doing a web tutorial, great, stick around. There'll be plenty to laugh at, I hope. I'm going to get right in and get started because I don't want to spend too much time talking. Less talking, more coding, right? So let's start from scratch again. I'm going to go through a couple of few repeat steps from last time because I want to do this in a manner that, I'm doing it as I'm telling you how to do it, not that I've already done it. So the first thing I want to do is, these aren't in the blog because these are from last week. I want to do a git clone. Yes. .github.com NASA. Now I want to be careful here and use the right capitalization that I'm going to stick with. C_F_S.git. This is going to bring down the NASA CFS repository to a local. Again, CFS stands for Core Flight System. It is a framework that's published by NASA. And while we're on that topic, nothing we discuss here today is going to be proprietary or governmental secrets or classified information. Everything we do here is public facing and totally above board. So you don't need to ask yourself if this is allowed. It's all public facing, but it's not easy to figure out and to get running at first. Or especially what we're going to do today is make the sample app our own sample app. So after I do a git clone, I'm going to step into that directory and I am going to there's a few submodules that also need to be gotten. So I'm going to git submodule init. That's a really fast result, which is fine. But what's coming up is the git submodule update. And that is going to take a few seconds to pull down the rest of the stuff. So what we're doing in today's video is, last week we installed CFS and we made it run, and we added a line to the sample app that would make it obvious that our sample app, that the NASA sample app, is actually running when we execute the core flight executable. What we're going to do today is we're going to take that NASA sample app and we're going to clone it, and we are going to make it our own. We're going to change the file names. We're going to change the variable names. We're going to add a line of code that's different from the other sample app. And my hope is that this would facilitate someone who wants to actually do work using this framework, that they would have an easier time actually creating a new application, because I have on this paper here some secrets that you might not get if you are just doing this on your own, or it might take you a long time to figure it out. 2 secrets here that I'm going to give you in this tutorial. Again, they're not really secrets or proprietary information. It's just 2 steps in order to get your sample app that's new to run in the framework. You have to tell the framework in multiple places that, here's a sample app, here's my application, and here's how you should run it. And it's, aside from building it and making it, that we also need to do. So let's see. All right, so let's I guess let's go back to our home directory. It doesn't really matter. So we're going to need to install 2 things that we're going to use, 2 applications we're going to use. One is Visual Studio Code, VSCode. We are going to use that in this application, in this tutorial. And the other one is a Linux command rename. It's a Linux command, but it's not installed by default. So we're going to go and we're going to install both of those things, okay? I left out a word. All right, so that worked, but it's already installed here on my machine. If you didn't have it already installed, it wouldn't have hurt anything. It just would have installed Visual Studio Code. The next one we want to do is the rename command. We're going to use the apt installer. And again, that's already installed here, but if it had needed, it would have updated it right there. Right now we're ready to get started. So
5 minutes later.
We copied up the sample defs folder and we copied up the make file, and now we're ready to do a build. But we have to remember to do a make simulation equals native prep. All right. And then we're ready to make and make install. And now we're ready to run. Okay, so we're running okay now. Now let's go make a quick change to the sample defs to the sample application. Let's go and let's run Visual Studio Code. Actually, have it running already. And let's go to the sample app, FSW, source code directory, sample app.c. What we want to do here is search for run loop. Right, that brings us to line 70. And if you notice, that's a while loop. If you notice down below here, there's an if clause. And what we want to do is add a line here. That's going to be line 87. And we want to say print f. 5 open brackets. And I want to identify this coming from the sample app. So I'm going to start by saying sample app go Artemis. And then 5 closing brackets. And I'm going to put a line return at the end, new line character, escape character. And make sure you put a semicolon at the end of that. Now, let's save this. Let's go back. Let's rebuild the sample app. Now let's run it. And what we expect to see is the print statement that we just added. We expect to see that repeating over and over. And that's what we have here on the screen. Okay, that's great. Let's not waste any time looking at that. If you want, you can sit and admire it. Feel proud of yourself. That's great. Just inserted some C code. You didn't just write C code. You actually put it into the NASA framework as part of a sample app. So that's pretty cool. Now comes the good stuff. Here's the reason you're watching this. Now this is going to get messy. What we want to do here, I can't tell you exactly how to do it. The purpose of this video is not to teach you how to copy files, how to do a search and replace in code, and how to creatively use search and replace. That's not the purpose of this video. So we're going to do some basic computer skills. I'm going to show you what I do and how I do it. But again, the purpose of this video isn't to walk you through this entire process. When we get back to the part where we're editing code, then you'll find the steps in the tutorial there. So first, let's go to the apps directory. And then let's do a copy recursive. My app. Okay, great. So I'm going to edit the steps there. I had to change that command a little bit. It's no big deal. It's the same command. I just had to write it differently. Now we have a separate my app directory. that's a sister directory to sample app. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in there. We're going to go into the source code folder. And we are going to use this special syntax with the rename command. What we're doing here is using regular expressions with the rename command to rename all the files that contain sample app, keep their extensions, keep whatever comes after sample app, but change sample app to my app in the file names. It's not a simple file renaming, okay? Okay, it looks like that worked now. Yes, it did. So we fixed the file name. Now let's go back to VS Code. Let's go to the source directory. You're going to find my app right before sample app. Let's go to the source directory. And let's open up myapp.c. Okay. Now we got that open. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to start doing a search and replace. And what we're going to search for is sample app. And we are going to what we're going to do is replace that with my app. Okay. And what we're going to do here, we are not going to select match case because we don't care about the case, the capitalization of sample app. We want to catch all occurrences of it. But what we are going to do is preserve the case so that when we change it, it will preserve the capitalization as it had found it. Okay? So I would suggest you first start one by one going through instances of this before you decide to say change all, find all. So you see it's changing it, it's preserving the case, it's preserving what comes after it. Watch, it's going to preserve the case here again. Now I'm confident that this is going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say find all, replace all. Right now, it's done with this file. I'm going to save it. If there are any errors, I'll fix them later after we build. Now I want to go through and I want to do that same thing to all of my files that are in this folder. And Visual Studio Code, I don't want any more recommendations now. I don't want to install anything right now. Thank you. Okay. Right, we're good there. I don't think it changed anything, but I'm going to save it anyway. All right, now I'm going to save all the files that are open. Now, here's the part where I'm going to tell you a secret. It's not a trade secret. It's not a proprietary secret. It's not a classified government secret. It's just some information that's going to be hard for you to find on the internet. And that's one of the whole reasons I made this episode of this tutorial. In order, I mean, this will probably build, but in order to make it build and in order to make it run, we have to put some edits in to two other files. So first, let's go up here to the sample defs directory under CFS. And let's go find a file called targets.cmake. targets.cmake. I'm going to close all my other files here so I don't have a messy work environment, and I'm going to close this. And what we are going to do is we are going to add my app. Up here. Let's see if sample app occurs anywhere else. Where are all the occurrences of sample app? Just one. All right, so we've added it. And now we need to go to this special file that is specific to NASA's. What we just edited was a CMake file. It's part of build scripting. It's generic. This file, CPU underscore CFE underscore ES underscore startup dot SCR. This file tells the executable what modules to load at runtime, at boot. When it boots up, it's going to load all these modules. So we want to add our module here. And what we want to do is just duplicate this line, copy, paste, paste. And we're going to edit this line to have it load my app. I'm going to preserve the capitalization here very carefully. And okay, VSCode is driving me a little bit crazy with the we're going to carefully preserve the capitalization. And there's no need to change this because this is essentially a priority. It's actually like a frequency or a duty cycle. And that's all we need to change. We don't need to change these other columns here. Let's save this file. There is one thing that that we need to do here. Down here in the My App directory, I should have done this earlier. We need to change this CMake list. Okay, again, any occurrences of sample, right? Any occurrences of sample, we will change to my, and we will preserve the case. In fact, I'm going to do this one by one and scrutinize every change. Okay. That was a good change. That was a good change. Might as well change the comments. That's good. We don't want to change sample lib. Okay. Do not want to do that. So I'm going to go to the next. And we do want to change this one. Do want to change that. And it looks like we're done. Right. Looks like we're done. Let's save this file. I want to double check something. I want to double check that we have we need to rename this because we renamed it someplace else. So and then we need to come in here Boy. Dogs go crazy. Save this. Now let's go double check that in myapp.c. Yes, it was already pointing to that file correctly. So let's save everything. Yes, we already saved. Now let's go see if it builds. It probably won't. I'll probably have to make some adjustments. But with a change like this, this is the only way to do this right now. Later on, I'm going to show some other ways to do it, like create an app from scratch, or maybe use some automation to create a new app. So let's go over here and let's make. No, so we have some build errors here. So I'm gonna have to go through this. Okay, I think I know what's wrong here. It's telling me in the cmakelists.txt that there's no source file for table my app table. All right, let's go check that out in VS Code. Okay, all right. I see what's going on here. It's looking for this file to be called myapp.tbl.c, but the file is actually called sample app. So let's change the name of that. That will fix one problem, but we're going to have to go in and we are going to have to then right. Now let's see if we can do a make here. Okay, not a problem. My app C wants to load a file called myapp.perf_IDs. So let's go to the myapp.h file. And it's including myapp.perf_IDs.h. Now, that is going to be up here in, let's rename this. Let's just search one by one for the word sample. Let's change it to my. All right, this should be pretty easy. Let's do this manually. Now let's go back here. All right, let's do the same thing for my app message IDs. What file was that? myapp.h again. We have that open. My app message IDs. See, we didn't rename that. All right, I think we're good there. Let's try and make again. And let's go back to myapp.c, myapp.h. Message.h. Right, line 91. Let's change this back to sample. Let's see if we can get rid of that error. My app pipe error. So we may have been a little bit too aggressive with all the changes we made. Okay, so that got rid of that error. Now, see, make lists, line 14. Guess what? We built. The whole thing built. There is one thing that I forgot to change. I want to change it. It's right here. Search again for run loop. Now, we want to change this. And we're going to say, in my app, we're going to say go Orion. Okay? Just to distinguish it from the other one. Now let's make and install and run this puppy. Okay, it installed. And let's run it. You ready to run? Are you guys ready to run? Here we go. Lollipop. Hey, Molly, are you ready to run? So it's working, and here we can see the print statements that we put in each of the two apps that we did. I apologize. I was a little too aggressive in changing some macro names that I shouldn't have changed. And that's what took us so long to go back and remedy. But that demonstrates that if you make a mistake like that, it's actually a great exercise to go back and try and fix that. Okay. So now we're running, and now it's printing out lines of code from two different sample apps. One that was generic that came from NASA, and we took NASA's sample app and we made it our own, and now we could add whatever we want to it. And in the future, what I think I'm going to do in my next video is these are C applications, and I don't recommend that you build your apps in C. If that's what your thing is, then yeah, go ahead. That's great. But for those of you that want to use C++, you know, I think the next episode will be about creating a C++ app, maybe from scratch. Okay. Would like to note one thing here. We're using CFS from NASA. There's another organization has taken, I think they have taken CFS and
they've added to it, which is totally legit. And you can Google it. Yeah, one of them is called OpenSat Kit. It's a core flight system platform. It's on GitHub. I think there's another one called OpenSat or something like that. Some of these have some add-on applications that will help you create a sample app or start your own app using a graphical user interface to create an application or create the framework code, and then you can go in and edit it however you like. That would be really convenient. CFS from NASA doesn't have that I know of. But I'll research both of those and maybe in the future do an episode on one of those other third-party kits. Okay, thank you for watching, and I hope you'll come back and check back in for our next episode.